Just how powerful is influence? Is it more powerful than the strongest punch? In a way, it can be, especially if you happen to be a mastermind criminal villain with a vendetta against Marvel's greatest superheroes. Let's explore some of the most influential figures as we count down the top 10 most powerful Marvel crime bosses. Number 10. Roche. Roche was the top crime lord in Madripoor initially. He was opposed by Tiger Tiger eventually, who was actually Jason Hoan. Hoan was caught up in a Reaver attack while they targeted the bank she worked at. Because she was a lone survivor of that attack, she ended up kind of being ostracized by her family. As such, when Hoan learned that Roche was the mastermind behind the Reaver's attack, she dedicated her life to taking him down and becoming the new head honcho in Madripoor. She became Tiger Tiger and would eventually take down Roche with the help of Wolverine during his time as Patch. Roche himself didn't have any superpowers but was extremely well connected and was quite a physically strong opponent as well, especially for just being a guy. Number 9. Tombstone. Tombstone is a villain of Spider-Man who ended up getting into the world of crime and becoming a villain because he was severely mistreated as a child and tormented by the other kids he grew up with. This was what turned Tombstone, aka Lonnie Lincoln, into an antagonist for the other kids, training to become strong so that he could torment them right back, threatening them and of course stealing their lunch money, doing all the things that meanies do. From there, Tombstone would end up growing up and into the life of a criminal. He would become an enforcer and eventually would run his own operation, becoming a crime boss of New York. One of the crime bosses who was recently called on by the mayor of New York at the time, the Kingpin himself. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to learn about even more crime bosses in the world of Marvel, of which of course there are many crime bosses out there, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Madame Masque. Madame Masque is the daughter of Count Nefaria. She goes on to become a rival of Kate Bishop's, Hawkeye, when Kate teams up with Clint in David Aja and Matt Fraction's Hawkeye series, but then decides to go her own way, heading out to live in LA. During her time there, Kate crosses paths once more with Madame Masque and her father, Count Nefaria. Mainly though, Kate pisses off Madame Masque, aka Giulietta Nefaria. Prior to that, Madame Masque was actually known for being an Iron Man villain, as well as sometimes an Iron Man ally and even an Iron Man love interest. Madame Masque has also worked alongside her father, and ultimately her allegiance often remains with her family, which means that no matter how many times she ends up on the straight and narrow, even becoming a borderline hero at times, she pretty much always returns to her criminal ways. Madame Masque, like her father, has also been allied with the Magia and worked as a criminal leader and mastermind for that organization. Number 7. Viper. Another rival crime lord that Tiger Tiger would eventually go up against was Ophelia Sarkisian, or as she is often known in the comics, Viper. Viper has often been in league with Hydra, but there have also been times when she's branched out on her own somewhat. For a time, Viper was actually the ruling monarch of Madripoor, seeing an opportunity to seize the nation and fill a gap after it was left without a monarch to rule over it. She ended up allying herself with Wolverine, who owed her a debt, in order to use his influence to seize control of Madripoor. And her plan? It worked. Wolverine was honor bound to Viper and did agree to marry her. However, he did end up getting Viper to agree to a divorce after leveraging her own life, which he had just both saved from demonic possession and in the process endangered. Viper would end up having Madripoor taken from her by the combined efforts of Tony Stark and Tiger Tiger, with the Tiger replacing Viper as the ruling power of Madripoor. Because I don't think Tiger Tiger becomes the princess of Madripoor, but you know. Down with the monarchy, I think, is what happens, maybe? Number 6. Hobgoblin. Well, you might think it's weird to include a villain like Hobgoblin on this list, the fact remains that while Roderick Kingsley is also often known as the mastermind behind that mantle, a lot of his machinations have involved him using others to build his own criminal empire. In fact, at one point he literally turned the criminal lifestyle into a complete business. He sold old mantles and equipment of minor deceased or MIA villains. In exchange for these mantles, personas, and items, he received a cut of the earnings of those he gave them to. So basically, he didn't even need to be committing any crimes, but regardless, he would still profit from others' dastardly deeds. This is like more minor, but still power broker levels of criminal shenanigans. During this time, when Kingsley was the manager and owner of various villain franchises, he also allowed Phil Urich to continue to use the Hobgoblin mantle, but only if he also paid Kingsley for its use by giving him a cut. Number 5. Power Broker. The Power Broker currently in in Marvel Comics is a mysterious figure whose true identity has not yet been revealed. But previous to that, we know Power Broker is Curtis Jackson. However, with the former Power Broker now dead, that's Curtis Jackson, a new unknown character has risen up to seemingly take Jackson's place. And whichever Power Broker we're talking about, the fact remains that they are one of the most powerful crime bosses out there. They are, they have been, and they probably will continue to be. Like Roderick Kingsley's Hobgoblin, who we discussed earlier, the Power Broker is another villain who has mastered the art of turning crime into a business. In the Power Broker's case, they generally grant powers to people after getting them to sign a contract that generally promises, regardless of their alignment, a portion of the profits from said powers will be paid to the broker themselves. As heroes aren't as well known for turning profit, generally the broker's clients tend to end up as mercenaries or criminals. Power Broker also has been affiliated with Power Broker Inc., their own corporation, and the Hench app, which partnered up supervillains with compatible henchmen for when it came to their heists. Number 4. Tiger Tiger. Tiger Tiger was once Jessen Hoen, and as you know by now, she is a very influential figure, mainly based in Madripoor. She ended up becoming the woman known as Tiger Tiger in order to get revenge on crime boss Roche, and following his defeat, she took over his role as major crime lord of Madripoor, or crime lady I guess. Tiger is so influential that she was part of Prince Baran's close circle back in the day. She took control of Madripoor following the defeat of Viper as Madame Hydra, who temporarily ruled the island nation. Tiger has lost complete control of the island at times, but is always considered a major key player when it comes to the governance and business of Madripoor. However, she typically is painted as the most moral of the crime lords of Madripoor. While Tiger isn't afraid to get involved in illegal activities, she does try to keep the illegal activities she dips into more clean, and doesn't really get involved in anything that could cause the people of Madripoor a great deal of harm. In other words, she's not known for trading in people or really in hard drugs, and will actively speak out against or even seek to stop crime lords who would. Number 3. Count Nefaria. Count Nefaria isn't just a powerful crime boss either. Like some other bosses out there, he's also managed to get his hands on physical power and powers as well. Count Nefaria is Count Lucino Nefaria, also the father of Madame Mask. He comes from a long line of nobility, which has granted him a fortune, one that he has prided himself in growing and expanding through criminal enterprises, as Nefaria is also a member of the powerful crime organization, the Magia. Nefaria would go on to use his fortune and his pursuit in the area of science and advancement to gain superpowers himself. Shortly after this development, he would die, but then he'd also be brought back, and as a result of that, become even more physically and mentally powerful and durable. So Nefaria is strong in a lot of ways. Number 2. Kingpin. Probably the greatest of all criminal empire masterminds in the Marvel Universe is Kingpin. Wilson Fisk is known for being one of the most powerful, influential, and overall politically conniving and manipulative of all the crime lords out there. The crazy thing about Fisk too is, while his methods can be questionable at times, he is so powerful because he is actually a pretty good leader overall. When he was young, Fisk realized the importance of politics, and became well versed in many different political tactics and political science, believing it to be the most useful skill when it came to gaining and maintaining power. And honestly, it seems like he was right. It's often his wit and his stratagem that make Fisk such a dangerous villain. Despite the fact that he is also insanely strong and physically powerful, it's really his mind and his influence that you need to watch out for. And his intel, he knows a lot of stuff. Number 1. Zhu Wenwu and the Ten Rings. Zhu Wenwu has to be the most powerful crime boss we have seen in the greater Marvel multiverse. That's right, when it comes to Earth 616, I feel like I have to give it up for Kingpin, but when it comes to the MCU, the alternate reality of Earth 199999, I think Zhu Wenwu takes it. Wenwu is the father of Shang-Chi and is an immortal crime boss whose aging was dramatically slowed by the Ten Rings. The Ten Rings are both the artifact that he wields, which grants him great power, but is also the name Wenwu gave to his army, who helped him seize power and maintain his control over the years. Wenwu built such a massive criminal empire in the known world that he began to seek out the unknown, mystical, and mysterious places on Earth, such as Ta Lo, where he ended up meeting his future wife, Ying Li, in his search for power. His love for Ying Li made him give up his pursuit of power, but after her death, he would soon return to a life of crime and once again continue to seek more power, believing that in giving that up, that was what had made his family vulnerable to attack in the first place. In his place, his daughter Zhu Xialing became the ruler of the Ten Rings and her father's criminal enterprises. Who are your favorite crime bosses from the Marvel Multiverse? Which do you think are the most powerful? Who is your favorite in the MCU? Who do you think holds the most power in all of comics? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight. Till next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube.